questions for Coach.
Coach, what's it been like out there since you guys have put pads on, moving around, everything and such? Their speed looking good. What's going on with everything?
Yeah, I think when we get the preliminary one group out there together, things operate smoothly on both sides of the ball. When we start kind of rolling some of the guys in that we need to kind of develop and come along, that's when you see a little bit of the drop off. It's not drastic, but you can see a guy that isn't in that first, rotation of consistency. That's what we got to hit on these next couple of weeks of camp, which is a good starting point. I did like the fact that both sides of the ball made some plays. It was good today to kind of get out and get close to a full game amount of reps, just so you can physically feel what it feels like to kind of, roll through. So there was definitely some positive. Some of the guys that we were expecting to play well played well. Some of the guys that we were expecting to see some things from did show us some things. Some old, fundamental habit things showed up, which means we got to continue to work on them. But overall, I felt pretty good about it.
Do you know about how many plays y'all went?
Yeah, we probably got total close to 85, maybe 90. And that's, with basically three groups, So basically what we were trying to get accomplished in this first scrimmage is you want to play a half with each group. So each group kind of gets a feel of, okay, half of football, where am I at halfway through camp? And then you can kind of reset your conditioning plan individually and collectively to say, okay, hey, if I'm get to a situation where I've got to play a full game, this is where I'm at. Where do I need to be? Now, a lot of our plan will help us get there, but it's good for the guys to actually feel, okay, this is where I'm at. Maybe I need to do a little more conditioning. Maybe I need to do a little bit more mental focus. Some of it's not always physically I'm tired. It's the mentally, we went probably 3 or 4 racks right there where it was a 12, 14, 15 play drive. Well, that's good, but you got to be able to stay mentally locked in. So the mental conditioning piece as well as the physical.
Coach, speak to quarterback play today, operation. How were you clean out there today? As clean as you wanted to be, and as physical as you wanted to be?
Yeah, I thought Braylon, probably for the first time in a scrimmage setting without it being scripted and, bring the ball back, moved that first offense really well. He had command. I thought Liddy, I thought Jacoby, even John White did some good things, but you can definitely see the command that Braylon had, which is good. All of them, I think all of them turned it over once, on passes. I'm not sure if Braylon did, but the other ones did, just on some passes. Just some little things that, you can kind of see from a quarterback that's got command, making the right checks, getting the ball out of his hand quick, kind of getting the guys set. But overall, I thought their command was really good. Braylon's got a confidence about him that's really good. I thought Liddy and Jacoby did some good things. Their presence has got to improve a little bit. Right now they're just playing quarterback. They're not necessarily commanding. Part of that is a little bit of who they're out there with. Braylon doesn't have to say 10 times, get down, get down, get down. Jacoby and Liddy are with some 2s and 3s where he's got to kind of, push the tempo a little bit. But overall, I think where we expected them to be with what we gave them today, they did a good job.
Was the defense today able to create some pressure?
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I felt like when we got stagnant, meaning we had to actually incomplete pass or we had to run a play from set, defensively got home a little bit. When we were in tempo, I thought our O-line did a good job of keeping them off. Well, from a defensive perspective, we still got to be able to get rush in tempo. That's part of the mental conditioning part. Getting set, getting your eyes, getting the call, and being able to react quickly. So we'll be able to learn from that. I thought there was a good balance of pressure. I thought there was a good balance of opportunities for the quarterback to have a good pocket. Probably not as much pressure as we were a week ago. O-line wise, we've got to move some guys around, which helped us. So it'd be good to learn from.
Did today answer some questions for you on that offensive line?
Yeah, we had planned, kind of go through today, move some guys around. Some guys have shown over the last week or so, including today, they perform a little better on a certain side than the other. Some guys have shown that they play a little better outside rather than inside, even if their body type says inside or outside. And then there's some there's some continuity with some guys. You know, some guys playing next to some guys, there's a lot better communication. Some guys playing next to some other guys, there's not as much communication. So now when we transition into week 2, which we had planned, okay, now we can start kind of, you know, the old WWE model. We can get a tag team group running together and kind of create that continuity that we want these last, you know, 2.5 weeks or whatever we got left.
I know you spoke about a depth chart, you know, not with the depth of the team. Is that gonna help you make the depth chart, you think, in the long
Yeah,
run?
the depth chart will probably be more solidified after next week's scrimmage because we want to make sure we give these guys a chance now to sit in their bus seats. You know, the first week or so, first 10 days was kind of, you know, musical chairs at all positions. You know, we were playing some corners at safety, we were playing some safeties at nickel. Moving in the next week, you're going to kind of get in the corner chair. Now, you will play right and left corner. You'll play boundary and field safety. You'll play right and left guard. So we're going to kind of let them get in their chairs a little bit because some of the techniques are different, you know, especially, you know, O-line. You know, a guard footwork is different than tackle footwork. So when you're playing both, you kind of put a lot on them mentally to be able to transition from guard footwork to tackle footwork. Now we'll get a little bit more, hey, you're our group of guards, you're our group of tackles, which should create a little more consistency. There's still going to have to be some flexibility because the reality is you got to put the best 5 out there. But we'll be able this next week to kind of say, okay, here are our tackles, here are our guards, here are our corners, here are our safeties. So that was good.
And then you put a premium on the ability to run the football and the ability to do that when you want to do it. How do you feel about these 3 guys and even, you know, with the freshman 4 guys? A lot of different skill sets, but could, you know, see a lot of different.
Yeah, you know, it was a little tough today because we thudded, right? And every time a running back gets thudded, he thinks he broke the tackle like he's Barry Sanders. But what we were trying to see today is, okay, who's got vision? You know, who can hit it up in there, even though, you know, you can get thudded for, you know, a dirty 3 or 4. Obviously, we hit a couple big runs today, which was good. That position's a little hard to evaluate production-wise when you don't tackle. But we were able to evaluate some of their vision, some of their cuts. I think you saw the backs that caught the ball out of the backfield really well today and some big play opportunities. That was good. That's a position, in my opinion, from working with that position a long time, that if you have the right fundamentals, instinct, and technique, it doesn't matter if you're getting tackled or not. If your shoulders are square when you put your foot in the ground, if you got good patience, you know, in the backfield and you kind of feel the flow, if you know when to speed up, when there's pressure coming, those are the things that now when you add that God-given ability to break a tackle or to burst through the line, that's extra. So it was good to kind of pull the reins on them a little bit. Like, don't just go run over some people. We let the 3s kind of go live today, which they probably had a few more broke tackles or falling forward. That's God-given stuff. But the ability to know what's my tempo on runs, what's my, you know, when do I need to put my foot in the ground, you know, down and distance-wise, when do I need to try to hit a big one versus getting vertical. We were able to see that today.
Coach, I know that, you know, at the conferences, at the media day conferences, both the SEC and the Sun Belt, they talked about the change in rules. Now, I'm not necessarily sure if y'all have worked on that. I talked to Coach Seymour up here for the media days. He said, we'll see about what happens when we get there. The defensive line adjustment. I knew that was a new rule that was in.
Yeah, there's a huge misconception. The rule has not changed.
Okay.
The rule has been emphasized by the SEC and the Sun Belt for a long time.
Okay.
It's now being emphasized nationally.
Okay.
What you're able to do when you shift or how you shift, the rule is still the same. There's just an emphasis on it now rather than saying, you know, hey, if I'm going to shift, we can still stem, you can still yell move, you can still yell stem, you can still come from the second level and step up to the first level, you can still, you know, slide right to left. You just can't do the exaggerated motions that you see some teams doing. If I'm in the stem, I can't, you know, move my hands and try to bait the offensive guy to come off sides. I can still stem with urgency. I can still say move. So we've always practiced that way. There are some players, you know, whether they're coached to do it or not coached to do it, that when they stem, they flail their arms or do an up down. You know, I mean, there's some things that
Y'all
people.
worked on over that.
Yeah, I mean, we try to teach our guys the right way. I mean, if you got to trick somebody to get them to jump off sides, and you're probably not doing it right. We're not stemming to try to, you know, play chess with the offense. We're stemming so you see one look, now we move, you got to block another look. But the rule has been the same. There's just a different emphasis on what is illegal and what's not legal.
Same thing with the substitution. I heard there was something with the substitution.
Yeah, substitution, obviously the, feigning injuries is a big topic, which
Yeah.
it's hard to judge, they're saying, which is the rule, if you go down with an injury after the ball's been spotted, then they have to evaluate that. Is that a penalty? Was he already hurt and limping, that type of deal? Again, there's, 1,000 ways to skin a cat, some guys have, different philosophies. We tell our guys, you're going to play until you can't play, and if you're hurt, obviously you got to go down, and we're going to protect you. Get our medical team out there. We don't really try to slow. Yeah, I don't think that's right. When a kid goes down, I tell our medical team hit the field immediately. So there's some national rules that they're trying to keep the game clean and integrity wise, and I think they're doing a good job of it. Obviously, there's always one or two incidences that you got to kind of look at. We don't live in that world. Trust me, we're 1-11. We ain't got time to try to trick anybody. It is not. We barely can throw and catch and tackle. So when we get good, we'll maybe come up with the tricks. But right now, we're fundamental football and try to do it the right way.
From a special teams perspective, what kind of did you see punting, kicking today? Did that answer?
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't think we hit it well. We missed 2 field goals today. They were on the long end. It's one thing. We practiced across the street on the grass field, and our kicker hit 2 52-yarders last week, and the team went wild. And I think we missed a 51 today, maybe a 44 today. So the consistency's got to continue to stay there. That's a position that we got some new guys there. They have the ability. The consistency is what we got to continue to work. Punting wise, I thought we did a good job for what we're doing. Our punter. One of the punters is here who punted today, did a pretty good job. Our punter who came from Australia, and we're still working him through. When I was at the other place, our men's soccer coach won a national championship, and obviously they have a lot of international players. So I called him and I asked him about the acclimation from a young man coming from Australia, coming over to Mississippi with the heat, and when do you start, kicking? The guy was on the plane for 23 hours. There's a process that you have to go through to acclimate him so that his body doesn't revert to injury, if that makes sense, just from a soft tissue thing. So he's at the end of that. There's a number of kicks he can do, number of physical hours he can be up. The bottom line of it is when he starts sleeping through the night, when his body clock kind of turns over, that's when we can start really working him into full activity. So he hit, his pitch count earlier in the week, which we knew he would. So moving into next week, he should be full go now. Sleeping through the night, body should be acclimated. We do that to prevent injury. International transition for you and I, you get back, I'm tired. Well, if you try to run around in this heat and kick and lift and meet, all of a sudden now you get a soft tissue injury that sets you back. So Chris Grassi, the soccer coach at the other place, did a really good job of kind of helping me understand how to manage, international athlete transition, which I appreciate him for that. He's phenomenal. So that we've applied that. So we feel like next week we'll be able to evaluate, where our, I guess you call them Aussie or Australian, whatever the political term is, not to be disrespectful. Our Aussie kicker / punter will be able to go full go next week.
Anything else? Coach, thank you.
Thanks, guys.